first of all, I'll never forget the feeling of first finding out because, Tracy, did you feel this way? My heart, I thought it was going to explode. I was so, I was like, oh my God, I've had anxiety before. I've never felt anxiety like that on me.
I more went into shock. Like I felt like I got bit by a shark.
Yes, that's like actually a great, my chest, it was
felt
so tight.
my body moving, but I wasn't moving.
Yes.
Like it was like I was running in circles, but I wasn't moving my feet.
It was a surreal fucking thing. Like you go into total kind of panic mode. Like, like it's a crazy, I don't know how to describe it, but and then you're like, oh shit, I can't even take medication for this. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's rough. I mean, finding out like is like the happiest and weirdest thing you'll ever happen because it's like you instantly are like, holy fuck, like I'm gonna in a year I have like mad responsibilities.
Yeah.
Like,
so it was crazy. So I'm feeling all this anxiety, and then slowly, like as you know, we told my family and friends, like it becomes more real, and you start. Like daydreaming, you start like, oh, like I started thinking about October and like, you know what I mean? Like you start, it becomes real.
Yeah.
And, you know, you start talking about baby names and, you know, it becomes a topic of conversation every day. And it is fucking crazy when you're pregnant, how all of a sudden, I mean, my whole life, like I've never treated my body with any care. Like,
God,
if I want fucking cheese fries, I'm eating cheese fries, like the end.
Yeah.
But like, all of a sudden, I'm making fucking green drinks every morning. I'm like, who am I? It was
because
like,
you're gonna be a good mom.
Yeah,
You
putting all
Jessica
this shit
is
in my
so
drinks.
like this. She's so type A. Like even with her dog, like she like microwaves his blankies so they're warm. Like I can't even deal with. Like she's gonna be a great mom, but she. You know, like when you don't have kids, like you get to be selfish. So like it's hard going from like being selfish to like being like, holy shit, I have this other person I now have to care for, and like none of my needs matter. So it's a transition.
Yes, you're, and it's funny because you always say that you're like, I don't go put myself first, and that's kind of already when I was.
I've
pregnant,
gone a month and a half without
that.
getting my nails filled for the last 3 years. Like I shower 4-minute showers. Like you get nothing for you. One time Jessica was like, I think I'm gonna go home, make a tea, and nap. I'm like, what the fuck is that? What is a nap?
So, you know, I was downloading all these apps that every week it tells you like, oh, your baby is the size of a fucking, you know, a poppy seed, like all these things. And I was really getting into it. I was like, this is fun. And I could feel the changes in my body. And it was a really cool, like surreal experience that I never thought I would enjoy. And I honestly did. So, okay, fast forward to my doctor is my OBGYN is pregnant. So she happens to be going on maternity leave. So she says to me, I want you guys to come in before I go. I want to have your first ultrasound. We could do it together, you know. And I was like, okay, like I definitely want to see you, you know, before you leave. So, you know, I'll never forget. It was such a beautiful day. It was the first like warm weather day. We drove there with the windows down, and me and Jen were like so excited. Like we're going to see our baby like on, you know, the ultrasound. Right. And it's like a moment I feel like you've always think about.
It's like in the movies.
Yes, it's like in the movies. Like you've seen it happen in the movies.
That's exactly how it is.
Yes, and you know how I'm like such a weirdo. Like I was so paranoid about having Denny in the room with me for anything, and it's true. Like you just don't end up caring. It's so weird. The only thing that was really funny is that I got on the scale with him in the room, and I was like, Denny, like shield your eyes, you know, and like it was like a joke. He closed his eyes, and then the fucking nurse lady says it out loud. I was like, bro.
You had one job.
I just told the guy to close his eyes and you say it out loud.
That's so funny.
Then he starts dying laughing. So, okay, we get in the room. We're starting the ultrasound, and it was like the craziest experience. She's showing us, you know, we're laughing. She's like, oh, look, there's the baby's fucking pole, whatever that is, the fetal pole. Oh, look, there's the sack.
I don't even know what the fuck a fetal pole is.
I don't know what any of these
no
things
idea what
are.
that just
She's
meant.
like, oh, look at this. Do you know what a sack is?
I mean, yeah, that's where the baby like grows in. But what the fuck is a fetal pole? Do you mean the umbilical cord? No, because it's not even developed yet.
I was like, oh, cool, pole, like cool.
Yeah,
and then she's like, gets quiet, and she's like moving that fucking thing around. And I'm like,
that makes me nervous every time they do that. I'm like, where's the heartbeat?
Yes.
Where's it? You hear one?
That's
Show me
exactly
it now.
what happened.
Yeah.
She was like, okay. So she doesn't even say anything right away.
Yeah.
And she's like,
That's when they get
takes
shady.
the thing out. Yeah. And she's like, okay, so there's no heartbeat. You know, get dressed and like meet me in my office and we're going to talk. And I was like,
Oh, God.
honestly, miscarrying wasn't even on my fucking radar. I'm not gonna lie.
That's how I felt about Julian's ears. It's something you don't even think of.
It's so not in my it was not even a thing I hadn't thought of it at all.
Right.
It wasn't even a possibility to me. So I was so confused. I'm like, okay, no heartbeat. What does that mean? And I get dressed and Denny's like trying to hold my hand and I'm like smacking his hand away from me because I'm so like annoyed and mad and confused. Yeah. And we go in the office and she's like, listen. She's like, it could be possibly that your weeks are off and that you're earlier than you thought.
Also, you went to the doctor at like 6 weeks. No, I think it was earlier.
No, it was 6 weeks.
And I said, I was like, usually doctors don't even take you until 8 weeks because...
Or it was even 7 weeks. It was super early. It was definitely earlier than they would have.
Yeah, like I didn't even make my doctor's appointment until like 8 or 9 weeks because like nothing is really there yet. Like,
yeah, so she's like, you might be off for the weeks and that could all it be, or you could have possibly miscarried. And honestly, after she said that word, I just like stopped listening.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything after that. And it was like a blur. And I didn't cry. I got in the car with Denny and he kept saying, are you okay? Are you okay? And pretty much I had to wait a fucking week to go back to the doctor.
Was rough. I remember how long
the worst week of my life. How long it felt like an eternity.
Yeah. I felt like even like for me waiting for the results, I felt like it was forever, and I couldn't imagine how it felt for you.
And I became like a Google maniac. I was fucking Googling
everything. Before you have this baby in the future. I'm disabling your Google because you cannot do that. Like I Googled once, like Julian had like this thing on his tongue, and basically it was it's called like geographic tongue, which is it just looks like a map on your tongue, but it's basically like you get sick. Meanwhile, there like cancer was coming up and all this other stuff, because one thing on the internet leads to everyone else, and then it goes by what people's opinions are.
Yeah,
you cannot Google when you're a mom. Like you just go to a doctor or
from the beginning of the pregnancy till to this moment, I've spent my life on.
No, I have to disable her Google.
The amount of forums and stuff. I mean, if you are looking for information. But like, I get it. You might want to,
but it's all opinions. It's not all facts, and it's not doctors.
Yes, it's so true. And like, so it was really, really a hard week, and I kept looking for any signs of life or not life. Like it was weird because the doctor's like, have you been bleeding? And I said, no, not at all. Like I haven't had any, and I still felt
normal pregnancy, normal miscarriage.
My
symptoms.
doctor, when I first went in, she checked my boobs and she went, those are pregnancy boobs. I could feel them. And my boobs were huge. I could feel it. So I was like, you know what? Maybe she's right. So I was being hopeful. Denny was being extremely hopeful.
Well, he's like a positive to our negative. So.
Yes. He couldn't understand my worry. He was like, it's going to be okay. He was like, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. The weeks are probably off. And I'm like, okay. So I go back the following week. I actually went without Denny because...
you would just want to do it yourself.
You know what? He had work and they couldn't take me till 3 days. I didn't want to wait another day.
Right.
You know what I mean? I had to know. So my mom and I went, and I had to see, my doctor wasn't there. So I had to see a male doctor who, the whole practice is fucking women. And the male guy was there that day. And I'm like, great. He ended up being wonderful. But like, I was just like, oh great. A stranger is going to tell me right now if I've lost my baby or not,
right.
And, he... almost immediately after the ultrasound started, he was like, I'm sorry. And like, he took the thing out and, like he didn't even have to look. And, he diagnosed me with a miscarriage. So what that means, and this is what I think what really fucked me up, is that my body thought I was pregnant. You know what I mean? So my mind couldn't, my brain didn't catch up. Yeah, I'm like, what do you mean there's no baby? I feel pregnant. Feeling all the symptoms. My body didn't know. So, I got dressed again. We went to an office, and he kind of told me my two options, which again, I've known people miscarried. I've never said to them, well,
what'd you do? Yeah, that's not a question.
Which is a crazy thing to me, because now I'm, it's another thing. I'm like, I feel horrible because you don't know to ask these questions, but the people who didn't ask me that, it felt fucking weird to me.
My hope for you was that it was just gonna pass, and that you weren't gonna have to get a DNC because that's traumatizing. And I was so nervous, but I didn't even want to tell you are they making you get, because I just didn't even want to bring that into the world. I didn't want to put that thought out there.
So pretty much the doctor said, you can miscarry naturally, but he goes, because it's a miscarriage, he goes, it could take weeks to a month for it to happen naturally.
Yeah.
And I honestly, it sounds horrible, but I just wanted it done and
Yeah, well, because
as soon as possible. I was
there's no words to like cushion this, but like you're carrying around something that's not there,
not alive.
And it's like, horrifying for the mom.
Yes. And it fucked with my head to think that like for a whole, like even that week, I was like almost disgusted with myself. There's so many feelings you think that come through. I mean, you feel
that's motherly
like the first
instinct,
thing I said, I was like, what I do? I mean, even today, like I said that I take too hot of a bath. I had a cold one of the days. I started retracing my steps. Did I eat something? What did I do? And he said from the beginning, I mean, this guy, by the way, my doctor, I got so fucking lucky. He's the most zen, gentle man I've ever met. And he said, he's the first thing you should know about miscarrying is that it's nothing that you did.
Yeah.
And that was nice to hear, but like you don't believe it. You know what I mean?
That's still like, they're like, oh, it could be genetic purposes for his ears. I'm always like, well, maybe I pushed too hard at at labor. Like it's just a mom thing, Jess. Like you always are gonna blame yourself when your kid gets sick. You're like, I shouldn't have taken him to the park that day, and you instantly blame yourself, no matter what it is. Like.
I'm like literally. Oh my god! I checked the water. I had the levels checked in my house.
No, yeah,
I thought maybe there's lead in the water. I mean, I was going like maybe I went to. I don't know. So it was nice to hear that, and it's crazy because they're like, okay, you kind of have to make a decision right there, then and there, what you want to do, and like you're still processing that this is all going down. So. I said, Doc, you got to tell me like what you would do. And he goes, honestly, a lot of women that miscarry naturally end up having to have a DNC anyway, because not everything is removed.
Yeah.
So he said, that is my professional opinion. That's what I suggest for you. So I said, okay, let's do it. He said,
but you didn't know what it really entailed.
No.
Yeah.
I had no idea. And he said, all right, can you come in tomorrow? I said, yep, I'll be there. Like,
yeah.
Denny actually had work that day, and I was telling my one friend, actually my friend Jillian, I was like, yeah. She's like, who are you going with? I'm like, my mom. And she said, what about Denny? And I said, I didn't want to make.
It was traumatizing.
It was hard for me.
Yeah.
And
I can't imagine like a guy who doesn't get its feeling.
Yeah. I didn't want to bring him in on it. And she said, I think you're making a mistake. So I talked to Denny and he's like, no, I want to come. So, it's hard for him to take off work, and he took off work. And I have to say that it is one thing that I'm so glad he was there. Because
you need the comfort.
It was more traumatizing than I realized. First of all, I had it in the maternity ward, which was, it's.
I know, because when I was giving birth one day, I heard the nurses yelling like, oh, we have a DNC coming in. And I'm just like, how? It's crazy how they just like use, like throw that word like around moms who are like about to give birth. Like to even say like that's going on in the same vicinity as a place that someone's giving birth is like, it's so crazy to me how it's all intertwined and like you don't even think about it.
And for those of you guys that don't know, DNC is a surgical procedure where they remove the baby. So, I had my own room, like same as I would have if I was. It was literally in the same room that when I have a baby
like
one day,
in a parallel world.
Yeah,
it's like so weird. It's an out of body experience. I feel like it must be.
Two things happened that made me feel better that morning, and one was that the doctor came in to like check on me before we went in, and I said, "Can you check one more time?"
Oh, Jess.
I was like, can you just check one more time just to make sure? And he said, yeah. And even the nurse was like, not a lot of doctors like
we'll do that.
Yeah. And he, and he looked at, he said, I'm positive, Jess, like this is what it is. And I said, okay. And the nurse, and this is why everyone's like, well, yes, having in the maternity ward was 100% fucking traumatic, but my nurse was incredible. She understood it. She'd been, you know what I mean? She got it.
They see both sides of the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she told me she had 2 DNCs done. She had 2 miscarriages. So I said, how did you do it? I can imagine doing this again. That's crazy to me. But so it was nice to have someone there that related. But I mean, it was the saddest day of my whole life. I just cried from the second like they started like putting shit in me too. They were wheeling me out and I'm just crying. And I remember waking up and just like being zonked from the anesthesia they put you under. And I remember just being so I couldn't, like I wasn't even fully awake, but I was crying. I couldn't stop crying. And it was just nice having my mom and Denny there. And it's just something that it's just a crazy thing to think about. So many women deal with this and they do it alone.
And they have multiple miscarriages.
Oh
like
God.
I know somebody who has 4 kids and she had 6 miscarriages along the way of 4 kids. So like, can you imagine doing it 6 times? Like it's
no.
And then just keep trying to have kids. Like it's just the mother's love. Like it's the only thing that'll describe it that keeps you going. Because like even somebody who had an awful pregnancy, they're like, let's have another one. You can't imagine. You're like, how the fuck are you going to put your body through that again? And you're like, just because you love your kids so much.
Yes.
Like,
so they actually, when you do a DNC, they give you an option where you can have genetic testing done on the baby. And I was like, I want to do that because they could tell you what caused the miscarriage. And because I said to the doctor, I'm like, I can't do this again. I literally can't do it again. Like I can't even imagine. Like, and people wait 2-3 times before they start doing this stuff. And maybe I'm not as strong as these women. I didn't have it in me. So, you know, I went home that day, and you know, the other thing again, like, you know, you have to tell everybody now that you told. So I get that part is hard. I'll admit it's hard to,
but then they're like so supportive, and you realize like how like lucky you are to have people who are happy for your gain and sad for your loss. Like they're there. They're not like bouncing on you.
And the thing is like you go through this life-changing, emotionally devastating loss, and it's like, why do that alone? There's no reason, you know. And one thing I will say is that like I was in a really, really bad place after.
Jess didn't leave the house for like a week. It was crazy.
Went to bed crying. I woke up crying. You know what? It's weird because I think something like this can either make or break your relationship. And not that like it broke Danny and I, but like it was frustrating for me at times. Like I'm like, why are you not crying? Why don't you get it?
They'll never have that mom thing.
We were like kind of
battling
a little bit because I was upset. Like it wasn't that he didn't care. He cared. He was upset. Like he just wasn't showing it the same way I was, and I couldn't understand how he was getting out of bed every morning. Like
he also has to be strong for you because you're the one. He knows that you're the one who has to cry. So one of you has to be strong, and like it's like a man thing. Like they just man up a lot easier than we do, and so they are able to put on a happier, stronger face for us, and we don't appreciate it because we're like, we want you to cry. Like no, I want you to be sad with me, but like you're not, and I don't appreciate why. You're not. It's like weird,
yeah. Like I just wanted more from him. I don't know what I wanted, and so I searched actually for articles written by men, and I sent him one. And I really suggest this for any women who are struggling to explain what they're going through because it is hard to explain. And I sent him an article written by a man, and he said to me, he read it, and the first thing he said was, he goes, "Do you really feel broken?" And I said, yes. He didn't know that. He didn't understand it.
Yeah.
How could he? Like, his body didn't change. His body wasn't like violated. You know what I mean?
They don't even go through periods, so they don't understand how like
no, you know, men they get my husband gets a cold and he can't walk the dog.
Yeah,
like
I know.
So I don't know. Like I felt like that helped. You know what I mean? For him,
he needed
because
to hear
I wasn't
it,
able to express it without screaming and yelling at him. So
that's
you know, I think it definitely, his attitude changed a little bit. He was more sensitive to it, more understanding. But one thing was that as the weeks went by and I wasn't getting better, I felt very alone and very isolated. I felt like, you know, and Dennis actually said to me one day, he said, "You're scaring everyone." And I was like, I'm just sad. Why don't they get that? Like,
no, but you have to, this is why, like, you can't always bring it up to somebody who's going through it, like, and like harass them because they have to take their time. Like, you should be crying. You should be letting out your feelings.
And that's the thing. I felt like my friends who are not mothers completely didn't get it.
Yeah.
They were there for me when
they were probably like, "Oh my God, are you okay? How are you doing? Blah, blah, blah." And
no,
I feel like,
but that was it. Then it ended. I had the DNC and it wasn't brought up again. Those friends pretended like I was never pregnant.
Happen.
Yeah, it never happened. They never asked, like, a lot of people didn't say, like, "How are you?" after the DNC. They didn't say, "Are you and Daddy try again?" It was like, they're scared to talk about it. Well, I get it. It's like, you don't want to say the wrong thing. And trust me, people have said the wrong things. There's, you know, I've heard everything like, "Oh, well, you know, it wasn't a baby yet." Like,
no,
shit.
Don't say that. Don't ever say that to anybody.
There's so much shit that people have said that I'm like,
the second it comes up pregnant on that thing, a mother is like, "I have a baby," whether it's a peanut, literally the size of a lima bean or the size of a 8-pound, 6-ounce baby, it's a baby. And like, you never tell a mother who is losing a baby or is not sure how the baby is sick or whatever. You can never say it's not a baby.
Even hearing the like, you can try again. Like, I don't know. It's like, I'm grieving a loss. Like, it doesn't matter that I can try again or I can get pregnant easy. Like, I'm lost a baby. Like, Denny, we lost a baby. Like, how do you, like, no one seemed to get it. And I get it. Like, I get that I was a little crazy. Like,
no, you had your right to do that, but people just have to give you your time to like be okay with it.
My pregnant friends definitely understood more, but I think it even freaked them out because the thought of losing a baby to them, I think it came like real. Like they understood more. Like this Mother's Day, for example, like was hard for me. Yeah. It was hard for me. I mean, because I had dreamt of like how Mother's Day was going to be. Mm-hmm. It seems like every milestone is just really, even like weddings that I'd planned. I'm like, oh, I was going to be 6 months at this wedding. Like, I knew. So, you know, like Mother's Day sucked. And only one of my friends like texted me and said, thinking of you today. Like, I know it's hard. You're going to be okay. Like, everyone seemed to move on and I get that. But like for me, I didn't, you know, it's just, it's weird. And again, I want to just talk about this because I've had friends who've miscarried and I feel I wasn't there for them like I probably should have been.
But there's no way to be there one way for every person.
It's true.
There's people that are going to be like, I want my friends asking me every day how I am. And then there's people who are like, I don't want to talk about it at all because I need to get over it on my own. And then there's people that are like, if somebody pops in once in a while and says, how are you doing? Like, that's enough. And then there's others that are going to be like, I don't want them asking me ever. I don't want to discuss it with them. I'm done. I want to deal with this on my own with my husband. Like, there's just no winning. There's no winning in a situation like that.
My best advice is like, if you keep it simple and say, I'm sorry, I'm here for you. And like,
they can reach out to you.
Like, I couldn't get out of bed. Like, I would have liked visitors or company. And I think I really just scared everybody. I mean, I have friends that are my best friends in the world that really just, it's like you'd be surprised, right?
I feel like you scared me in a way of not me being like, she's not going to make it through this, but more like I felt like you freaked me out that you were going to lose hope altogether. And that's why I kept telling you, I was more like, you know me, I'm a realist. So I was more like, just, this is going to suck. I love you. This whole thing is going to suck. Like, there is no right way to handle this. You handle it any way you want. Don't let it discourage you, but like, don't go rush into trying. Don't let people force you into like, do it again, or don't think about, I'm like, just take your time to do however you need to get over it. We're all here waiting for like you to reach out and like your phone call for us. Like, if you need us here, we'll come here. But like, we don't want to overwhelm you with the fact of like us showing up every day, because then you feel like a victim. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it's like then we treat you differently and you never want to be treated differently. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like,
no, you were good.
I tried to like, I tried to like change the subject a lot and make you laugh about things.
No, you did. And you were actually the first person to get me out of the house.
Yeah. I was like, get to my house right now. I cannot come to you. You need to come to me. And Denny's like, go get out of the house. And I was like, I'll have grilled cheese waiting for you. Like,
you know what?
Whatever I have to do to get you out of this room.
It was
that's
hard
like a room of
to
sadness.
Get out of bed. And actually, Dr. Walter, who does our Botox, she was an OBGYN. So I had kept I was texting her throughout this process, and I went to see her and she said, how are you feeling? And I said, I can't get out of bed. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to, like, the dishes. I look at the dishes and it looks like there's one cup and I'm like, it is exhausting for me to pick up that cup and put it in the dishwasher. I don't want to do it. And she said, well, you're fucking depressed. Like,
it's so easy to slip into a depression from so many different things. And this is such a major thing. So it's like, that's why, like, I don't know, like, being a doctor, I can't imagine.
Idea. I really had no idea. I was like, she goes, those are all the signs of depression. She's like, Jess, it's okay. Like, I've been through it. Everyone's been through it. Like, it happens, and it's okay to ask for help. And I really, really needed help. And I felt very alone through it because no one got it.
Even me, who has kids, I couldn't imagine understanding, like, what she was going through. So, like, you walk on eggshells almost because you don't want to hurt that person anymore by saying something that they don't want to hear. Or,
yes, I get
like,
that.
even talking about the kids, like, you'd be like, oh, what's going on? And like, I'd kind of change the subject about the kids, because I was like, I don't even want to talk about my kids, because I don't want her to be like, oh, I should have been having, like, it just like there's nothing like you could say. So I was always just like my thing was just like keep making. That's what I do is make Jess laugh. Like keep making her laugh and like get her out and feed her cheese and like
20 ugly selfies.
I literally, guys, we're gonna pick our ugliest and post it. She was like, I'm just really depressed today, and I was like, hope these make you laugh. And I picked my worst angles where you could see like 6 chins, and I just started sending them to her.
I was happy.
She was like, I'm saving all these. Like,
but there was a time I didn't know if I was like, it feels like you're not gonna smile again. Really, the only way to describe it is it feels like. And it's not about like, because in my head, I'm like, what? You didn't even know if you wanted a like, why are you so upset? But it's like something was stolen from you. Like something was taken from you. And you just like want answers and you don't understand why. And you're just constantly looking for answers. There's nothing. And you're right. There's nothing anyone could say that's going to make you feel better. But that's why I feel like if you're a friend of someone that's going through this or you're a husband, like just be there. Like if your wife wants to cry for 10 hours and watch sad movies, just let her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just bring her chocolate.
Sometimes just it's better not to say anything at all. Like I literally told Denny sometimes, like, can you just stop talking? Like you're making it worse. Just be there.
Just like lay with the person. Yes. You don't have to have a talk with them. You don't have to do anything. Just maybe like something that you know that they like, oh, let me just make her popcorn and bring it into her. Maybe she'll just sit there and just like forget everything. Just like stuff that she would want to do for herself that she kind of can't, like draw her a bath, like stuff that like just make her realize that she's really special is something to just keep up with.
And let me tell you, I had the most profound moment when I went back. So after the DNC, you have to go back 2-3 weeks later and have a follow-up with the doctor to make sure everything's okay.
Right.
And I told you this man is incredible. And he sat me down and he said to me, something that I was like, wow, it was the smallest little words, but he said to me, how are you doing, whatever. And he said, how is it being back here? And I was like, oh my God, like no one understands that going back
to the place
is so hard. Like, because the last time I was here, I had a baby. Like, so it was hard for me to drag my ass there. And I was like, oh my God, he's acknowledging that. And that's what people, I think, going through this want. Yeah. Is the acknowledgement that it's that you're grieving a lot.
Each step is harder than the next step. And I think people just look at the first step and then they're like, oh, it's fine. The baby's done. Like, that's not what it is. Like, there's so much more that follows. Like, how are you going to feel like when you get the next pregnancy test and you take it? Like, are you going to be okay? Should I be there for you to find out?
Or getting my period. I mean, it was
sucks
like
now more than it ever did in life.
You. It was like my body was. It was like I wasn't supposed to get another period for 9 months. You know, it was. It's like these little milestones, like for the next 9 months, are fucking horrible.
They're like digs at you. Yes, it sucks, and you just look at everything like that's not a positive.
Due date is gonna suck. I mean, all these like Father's Day's coming up is gonna suck. Like these are all.
Can I tell you something? I think that for the baby's due date, you should like have a cheers because now that's like your guardian angel. Instead of looking at it like this, I cannot believe like I have to go past this. Like I think that day, like you and Denny, you guys should go out to dinner and celebrate. Someone who's now going to look over you forever instead of being like, this is something that we lost. Now, like you have somebody who's not here that gets to like watch over you guys forever. Instead, I think that instead of making it sad, you should celebrate it really, because it's still somebody that was yours.
There's one thing I do want to say because
it's still a special day.
I did look for help in miscarriage support groups, and there's so many really great ones on Facebook, on the internet. Like there's different forums, different apps, but actually I just saw the other day someone posted like they let balloons go or whatever.
We do that every on Jean's death day and his birthday, and for Father's Day we always let go of balloons. Yesterday we had a birthday party for a second birthday and they had balloons at the party, and we got outside and Skylar goes, can we send these to Poppy? And I was like, yeah, of course, go ahead, send them up. So I have it on video. I'll post that video for you guys. They literally asked me if they could send up balloons because it's something that they understand that like that's their connection with him. Is a balloon is a representation of somebody who lives in the sky and watches over them. So that's something that they associate with balloons now. They don't look at balloons and are like, these are going to be fun to play with. They're like, after when we're done with them, we send them to Poppy. It's always how they think now. And I think on that day, you should let out white balloons as like your little angel.
Man, you know what really sucked, was really hard, is that our families... we're so excited.
But then they're just going to be more excited the next time.
I couldn't tell my grandma. I couldn't call her. I didn't have
I
made my mom call her. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. No, that's not on you. That's on somebody else to step up and do things like that. That's not something for the mother who's grieving should be doing. That's right. It's
and then we took her out for Mother's Day and like we had this long hug and she She said, I wish God took me instead. And I felt so horrible. I mean, it just sucks. Like, you guys just, whoever you know that's going through this, or if you're going through this, I mean, it just sucks. There's just like you said, Trey, unless you've experienced it.
No, yeah. Nobody can even, like, I'm sitting here trying to understand. I just could never understand it. I couldn't get it. And that's why I'm like, you do your best to, like, be there for that person, but there's no right way. So, like, whatever you're doing, if you're trying it all, it's helping, but there's no right way. So don't question yourself. Just be there for them.
You know, and again, coming out, like, in my miscarriage group, someone shared an article how Beyonce a few years ago had a miscarriage. Did you know that?
No.
Neither did I. She said it was the saddest thing that she's ever been through. And
I can't
It
imagine.
was awesome to hear a celebrity speak out. I mean, nobody talks about this shit. How can 25% of women go through it and you can't really name 5 of them? It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow. You know, it's just you respect people being honest and telling their stories. And these miscarriage support groups are really wonderful. Like, just connecting with other women and hearing, you know, what they've been through. And like you said, like, oh my God, some women have done this 5, 6, 7. There are women that, like, they can't, like, they see a pregnancy announcement on Facebook and they like, even me, it was like seeing everyone announce their October babies was sickening, the worst. Yeah. You know, or even just being around kids or like hearing other people talk about kids, like you get very angry at the world. And I definitely, you know, I get it. I've read people they stop going to baby showers. They can't be at a baby shower.
But that's why I told you not to let it affect you, because it can't ruin your whole life.
That's what I'm saying. It can't be the healthiest thing to do that, like to just be angry and spiteful. And
you have to have your time,
jealous
and cry and let it out. But then you can't let it affect you like that, because then you'll never do anything and you'll miss out on so many amazing things that you should have been there for.
Don't forget, guys, new clips air every Thursday. So see you next Thursday.
Hosted on dimlywit.com.
Even though we are not your best examples,
we're the best you've got.
So cheers, bitches.
Cheers. Make sure you subscribe to our channel for updates. And if you like this clip, share it with a friend.